Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. In my previous audio presentation, I had discussed about Mrs. Fitzgerald and Mrs. Pearson, particularly Mrs. Fitzgerald who performed the magic, and finally now Mrs. Fitzgerald became Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Pearson became Mrs. Fitzgerald. Now, not only that, they had already imbibed the characteristic trait of one another. Now, let's see what happens after that. Mrs. Pearson, now with Mrs. Fitzgerald's personality, and as you know that Mrs. Fitzgerald, she was a chain smoker. Now it seems that Mrs. Pearson is now following the same habits. See, it is written now with Mrs. Fitzgerald's personality. See what I mean, dear. She notices the cigarette. Here, you don't want that. She snatches it and puts it in her own mouth, puffing contentedly. Contentedly means with satisfaction, or rather to say, with enough satisfaction. Mrs. Fitzgerald now, with Mrs. Pearson's personality, looks down at herself and sees that her body has changed and gives a scream of fright. Scream of fright means when someone gets very much shocked and equally frightened at the same time, because it is a huge transformation, or we can say a 360-degree change or a metamorphic change, as we notice here. So Mrs. Fitzgerald, obviously with Mrs. Pearson's personality, looks down and started screaming. Now let us come to the dialogue part. Mrs. Fitzgerald, oh, it's happened. Mrs. Pearson, of course it's happened. Very neat. It's like a clinical performance, dear students. Very neat. Didn't know I had it in me, because I had a doubt before performing the magic, but it turned out to be hugely successful, and I am pretty happy with that. Mrs. Fitzgerald, but whatever shall I do, Mrs. Fitzgerald? George and the children can't see me like this. But whatever shall I do? George and the children, it will be very difficult for them to accept me in this attitude, or to accept me in this way. Mrs. Pearson, they aren't going to. That's the point. They will have to deal with, only they won't know it. Now, Mrs. Pearson is now actually Mrs. Fitzgerald. As you know by this time, personalities change bodies is a very important theme in this drama. And as you all know that by this time that the magic had already been performed, and each one of the two ladies, they have imbibed the characteristic traits of the other. Now, Mrs. Pearson is now actually Mrs. Fitzgerald. So she is saying that you don't have to worry, because they won't deal with you. They have to deal with me. And they don't know about this shift in personality. So you don't have to worry about it. Mrs. Fitzgerald, but what if we can't change back? It would be terrible. But if we can't change back, then it would be horrible, isn't it? Mrs. Pearson, steady. Mrs. Pearson, if you had to live my life, it won't be so bad. Don't worry. If you had to live my life, if you had to lead my lifestyle, it won't be so bad, I guarantee you. You'd have more fun as me than you have had as you, and you will enjoy my life. You will have more fun as me than you had in your entire life. It will be a drastic sort of an experience for you, and you will enjoy this metamorphic change. You will enjoy this transformation. Mrs. Fitzgerald, yes, but I don't want to be anybody else. Actually, Mrs. Fitzgerald is now Mrs. Pearson. She is saying that it's okay, but I don't want to be anybody else. I don't want to lead my life like anybody else. Mrs. Pearson, stop worrying. It is easier changing back. I can do it anytime we want. Don't worry. It is easier changing back. We can perform this magic anytime, or rather to say, I can perform this magic anytime we want. So it is not impossible to change, but at this moment, we won't change. Let me rectify your family members. Let me teach them the right social and moral values. Then only we will change. We won't change right now. Mrs. Fitzgerald, yes, but I don't want to be anybody else. Now stop worrying, it is easier changing back. I can do it anytime we want. This is a very important line, dear students. This shows that Mrs. Fitzgerald is extremely confident of performing the magic once again to change back to their original personalities. Well, do it now. Mrs. Pearson, not likely. No, not now. Not at this moment. I have got to deal with your family first. Yes, I have to deal with your family first. That's the idea, isn't it? Yes, I have to deal with your family first. Didn't know how to begin with them, you said. Well, I will show you. Yes, so Mrs. Pearson is actually Mrs. Fitzgerald. She is saying that you had no idea of how to discuss your problems with them. You had no idea of the way how you will protest against your various grievances. So don't worry, I will show you how you have to proceed with them. But what am I going to do? Mrs. Pearson, go into my house for a bit. There's nobody there. Then pop back and see how we are doing. You do one thing, go to my house, stay there for a time being, and then come back again and see how we are performing. You ought to enjoy it. Ought means supposed to. So I guarantee you, you will enjoy it a lot. Better get off now before one of them comes. And the suggestion that I can give you right now is that you go and stay in my house since no one is there, and then maybe after half an hour or maybe after 1 hour later you come back and you can enjoy the show, and you can see with your own eyes how tactfully I manage your family members. I will give them a taste of their own bitter medicine. So the thing that I suggest you to do right now is to go to my house and come back again after some time. Mrs. Fitzgerald, nervously rising. We know she is actually Mrs. Pearson. Yes, I suppose that's best. You are sure it will be all right? Are you certain that it will be all right? Mrs. Pearson chuckling. It will be wonderful. Chuckling means she is smiling and at the same time she is mocking also Mrs. Pearson's nervousness by saying that it will be wonderful. Now off you go, dear. Now don't waste any more time. Any one of them might arrive shortly. So it is better you go to my house and come back later. So Mrs. Fitzgerald crosses and hurries out through the door right. Left to herself, Mrs. Pearson smokes away, lighting another cigarette, and begins laying out the cards for patience on the table. Now, as you know that she had imbibed the characteristic trait of the former, and now she is playing the card, she is smoking, she is all by herself. After a few moments, Doris Pearson comes bustling in left. So now, apart from the two characters that we knew till now, there is an entry of another character. This is the third character that we find is now entering this drama. And this character is another important character. It is the daughter of Mrs. Pearson by the name of Doris Pearson. Now we got to know about her mentality, about her behavior. See, it is written, after a few moments, Doris Pearson comes. She is a pretty girl in her early 20s who would be pleasant enough if she had not been spoiled. But she is a spoiled girl, otherwise, she would have been a pleasant one. And the way you will find that she is talking with her mother is extremely rude. She is very impolite, indecent also in her behavior, in her manner. She is totally mannerless. It seems that she never ever respected her mother. She never ever loved her mother also. And it is so unfortunate because Mrs. Pearson, she sacrificed her entire life, almost her entire life, for her family, for their well-being, for their welfare, for their happiness, for their satisfaction. But it seems that she herself remains unhappy and dissatisfied because she failed to be a good mother, because she failed to strictly gave discipline to her children. She failed to give discipline to her children. And that is the reason Doris, she is so much arrogant in her way of talking with Mrs. Pearson. So, see the dialogue of Doris Pearson. Before she has taken anything in, Mom, you will have to iron my yellow silk. Yellow silk means yellow silk dress. I must wear it tonight. She now sees what is happening and is astounded. Astounded means surprised, because she haven't seen her mother drinking and smoking previously. And look, the very first line, she is ordering her mother, what are you doing? Mrs. Pearson now uses her ordinary voice, but her manner is not flattering and apologetic, but cool and incisive. In a very casual, in a very carefree manner, she is having a conversation with with Mrs. Pearson's daughter Doris. Mrs. Pearson, what do you think I am doing? Whitewashing the ceiling. Can't you see what I am doing? Definitely I am smoking. Doris, still surprised, but you are smoking. Mrs. Pearson, that's right, dear. No law against it is there, but there is no law. I can definitely smoke. I am not prohibited from smoking. But I thought you didn't smoke. Then you thought wrong. You are wrong. Are we having tea in the kitchen? Have it where you like, dear. Wherever you like it, you have it. I prepared it. I had taken my cup of warm tea. If you want to take a cup of tea, prepare it all by yourself by going to the kitchen room. Doris angrily, do you mean it isn't ready? Yours isn't. I have had all I want. I already told you, dear students, she will speak equally rough in a equally rough manner in order to teach Doris lesson, the right lesson. Yours isn't. I have had all I want. Might go out later and get a square meal at the Clarendon. Now Clarendon is the name of a restaurant. So what Mrs. Pearson, she is trying to say that I might go out in late in the evening and I might go to a restaurant and might enjoy a warm dinner there. Doris, she can't believe her mother is behaving in such an aggressive and stubborn manner. She is saying, who might? Who might means, are you sure? Will you go alone? And she is totally bewildered. She is totally surprised at this attitude of her mother. So dear students, I stop in this audio presentation right here. In my next audio presentation, I will continue from the next page, that is page number 38. So I discussed up to who might. So from the next page, I will continue. Dear students, please go through this audio presentation, and if there is any doubt, kindly clarify. Thank you, students. Thank you all.